It is Wednesday, July 24th, 2019. It is 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and so you know what time it is. It's time for a little bit of coin metal. And it was a very casual, get your ass kicked at Jiu-Jitsu Wednesday, and yeah, casual. Not terribly fast, not terribly hard, but certainly content filled. We did a lot of reps today. Reps and reps and reps and more reps, which I love. I got to tell you, it was a good contrast from a lot of the classes that I've had where the instructor seems like they want to put a lot of information into one class, and that's cool. But the ability to concentrate on one particular thing and really work it through, make sure you got your grips right, make sure you're doing all the steps properly, so on and so forth. That I feel is almost, I feel that's more important, getting the exact form right so that you're actually feeling the wind and the momentum of the movement, And so for what material we were covering today, it was a setup for an arm bar from closed guard, and I happen to like it a lot because when you do it right, there's a lot of like squishiness in it. Like you grab the elbow from the inside with the opposite arm. So it'd be the same arm. So if I was going for it with my right arm, I would be grabbing my opponent's right arm. Get it from the inside of the elbow, pulling it really tight to my body on the opposite side, and then grabbing up onto the shoulder, kicking off of the hip, and adjusting to where you get your leg right up over the shoulder. And you know what, that particular spot on it, I had the most trouble remembering to do. And it's critically important because when you tighten up on that, if you just try and switch it over to straight from there to the arm bar, chances are you're not going to get the arm at 100% the right angle. But when you take your time and you bring that thigh up to your opponent's ear and just kind of hang it over the shoulder, and it gives you an opportunity to tighten up and adjust your hips to where you're in the right position so that when you do get your leg up over that head and go into that arm bar, the arm is lined up properly. If you're shifted too far up or down, your opponent will have angle on the shoulder and be able to adjust out of it. And so, yeah, like I said, I felt that was really, really productive in that I love things that I love techniques where I break my opponent's posture, and I have them so tight in that position that the likelihood of them getting out is really, really low. And so we did it from grabbing the inside of the elbow, and we also did it from if you grab the outside of your opponent's sleeve with both hands and yank it up over your head, and that was a kind of a neat transition over to back from there. But like I said, we didn't do like a lot of different movements, but we did a lot of repetitions, and I prefer that kind of teaching of technique because I felt a lot more comfortable with the material than if we had just done it for a couple minutes and then switched to another technique and do that for a couple minutes and do that from unless it's something where you're like building from one to the next. I feel like those are probably the more difficult for me to really assimilate any information, and especially if you're jumping from like one subject to another. If it's the best classes that I've had, it seems like it's the best ones are the progression with a lot of repetition. So maybe we only do like 3 moves, but it's like a progression from say from full guard to triple threat. Going and doing that as the first transition, and then building on top of that to we go to the arm bar, we go to a specific choke, we go to a different angle on the arm bar from that, and just doing it like to where you're starting it at guard at full guard and then working it through, for the repetition set. I feel like that's like the best synthesis where, you're not necessarily trying to cram the book into somebody's ear in one class, but you do want to make sure that they have it solid enough to write a chapter. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw down into some music, and as always, we're going to start off with a little bit of body count. But I've been thinking about the way that I broadcast on social media, and I've been thinking about changing that up a little bit, maybe not doing every single song. But then I'm always wondering about, do people really understand the diversity of stuff that I tend to play on the show? So I don't know. I'm kind of up in the air there. So as far as our first dance, let's go with No Lives Matter, Body Count. First dance here on Coin Metal. And that was Metallica with And Justice for All. Love that album. The whole thing was just awesome sauce. Anyway, as far as what we're going to get into today, I got this first one, and this is more a PSA than anything. It's on TechCrunch.com. Robinhood stored passwords in plain text, so change yours now. And this is by Devin Coldway, and it's authored, let's see here, approximately 4 hours ago. So yes, penis. When you set a password for your Robinhood account, we use an industry standard process that prevents anyone at our company from reading it. On Monday night, we did... Oh, wait a minute here. Hold on. I kind of skipped ahead because the first paragraph or two is in bold print, and typically that's like a summary. Anyway, continuing. Investment and stock trading app Robinhood stored some user credentials, including passwords, in plain text on internal systems, the company revealed today. Particularly dangerous security misstep could have seriously exposed its users, though it says that it has no evidence that the data was accessed improperly. Better change your password now. Sensitive data like passwords and personal information are generally kept encrypted at all times. That way, if the worst came to pass and a company's databases were exposed, all an attacker would get is a bunch of gibberish. Unfortunately, it seems that there might have been a few exceptions to that rule. A number of users, including CNET's Justin Couchin, received the following notice from Robinhood in an email. Quote, when you set your password for a Robinhood account, we use an industry standard process that prevents anyone at our company from reading it. On Monday night, we discovered that some user credentials were stored in a readable format within our internal systems. We wanted to let you know that your password may have been included. We resolved this issue and, after a thorough review, found no evidence that this information was accessed by anyone outside of our response team. It seems that if we were truly, quote, industry standard, then the rest of the industry would also have stored passwords in plain text. Come to think of it, that would explain a lot, since Google, Facebook, Twitter, and others have all managed to make this same mistake recently. Actually, they're complying with a government order. A Robinhood representative stressed the rapidity of the company's response to the issue, though they would not comment on how it was first discovered, nor how long the data was stored that way, nor what deviation from these industry norms caused the problem, nor how many users were affected, nor whether answers to these questions would ever be forthcoming. They did offer the following statement. Quote, we swiftly resolved this information logging issue. After a thorough review, we found no evidence that this customer information was accessed by anyone outside of our response team. Out of an abundance of caution, we have notified customers who may have been impacted and encouraged them to reset their passwords. We take our responsibility to customers seriously and place an immense focus I'm working to ensure their information is secure. If you got an email, you were among the unlucky few. Majority handful. I'm sorry. This is kind of, it's weird. It's stricken here. It says few, many, majority, handful, some. So change your password. If you don't get an email, also change your password. You can never be too careful. Oh my gosh. CompSec, InfoSec. Oh, it's terrible. Terrible. Oh, damn it, Jim. That pisses me off. This fucking website, it's just dying to get me to sign up for its shit, and I don't want to. So yeah, apparently they're saving your information in plain text so that it's easily hackable and or received somewhere in between. You know, man-in-the-middle attacks, that's one of the aspects of man-in-the-middle, so that they don't really stress too much, is that if there is somebody receiving your information or in a position to receive your information, if it's encrypted, it's just gibberish. However, if it's in plain text, they can read it. And we reviewed something relatively recently, I want to say probably 2, maybe 3 months ago, where some security experts were basically holed up in a hotel for some sort of deal or whatever. I can't remember the exact circumstances where they came across the information, but they were able to discern information going from one hotel or one casino to another, and that the information wasn't encrypted. It was in plain text, and it was customers' personal information. And so they notified the security company, or the company, the vendor that was in charge of it, told them of how they noticed it and whatever, but not before they reported it to the FBI. And this was key. They reported it to the FBI, then they went to the security people. And this is so key because later on, the security people from the company, the vendor that supplied the software and handles the software and all that other bullshit, they tried to take them to court afterward, suggesting that they were trying to compromise the casino systems, you know, that they were an intent attacker, and that's how they came up with the information. Whereas, and I think at one point they even claimed that the hackers in question had tried to hit them up for money. And the thing is they were smart enough. After they notified the FBI, they recorded their conversation with the vendor when they were called in. Then they gave the information to the FBI. And so it's like, no. You're not gonna fuck us over like that. Anyway, the point being that this is such a universal practice that I think it's intentional. You know, it's like people bitch about Facebook's privacy and violations of their privacy statements and whatever. The fact of the matter is, I think anyway, that they're being asked. They are being asked specifically to make it easy to acquire your information. And they are being asked by the same government that's supposedly putting their hand up Facebook's ass for some $5 billion fine or some shit like that. It's some outrageous amount. But again, the storage of customers' information in plain text, like I said, the practice is so pervasive that it makes me think that it's part of some sort of government mandate. You know, that some government officials come to them and say, hey, yo, you fit under this classification, this is covered by DHS, and so you need to make your information that you're transmitting, your customer information, you have to make that in plain readable format so that at any time one of our surveillance agencies can look up a feed from you and just be able to see what the fuck is going on. No fuss, no muss, you know. And that's just my impression. I'm not saying that's how it is, But it seems to me that the practice is so pervasive and so stupid that it's the result of some sort of mandate. That some agency or another, whether it be state or federal, says, oh, there's got to be easily readable information, and you got to put backdoors in your shit, and and make it really easy for us to sneak into somebody's computer at any time and fuck with their shit or read their shit or see what they're doing, because terrorism. I mean, really. But I don't know. I think, like I said, it's some sort of fucking mandate somewhere. It's some law. It's some edict by some intelligence agency. Whatever. I don't know. All I do know is that it's not making us any safer. I mean, on a very, very personal level, it's threatening our security. And I would think that somebody would be evaluating the cost-benefit ratio there. It's like, okay, we set it up, so what's the possibility or probability that some black hat or even a gray hat hacker might acquire this information via the backdoor that we've requested be supplied, and reads the plain text information or downloads the plain text information, and then starts ransoming all of our customers, or all of our citizens. What's the cost benefit ratio that we might bust the one terrorist that is stupid enough to use a means that we can track. The one guy that does that, he doesn't buy his stuff in cash, doesn't work through intermediaries, tries to do everything straight up on his own from his house. What's the number of those people? I would be willing to bet that the number of those people is so tiny and so minute, and they get them via other information anyway, that this tracking and spying on us is completely fruitless. And in all honesty, it's so widespread, I can't really discern what the use for it would be, unless it was like, I don't know, maybe like tracking us to where they can estimate a date when we'll all be in one area and they can just nuke one area and get most of us. I don't know. I can't even think of it. Because like I said, it's not just me or you or your next door neighbor that would be impacted by a significant data breach. It's Facebook. Okay, so we're talking about what? Some estimated 2 billion users, 2.4 billion users. All of their shit gets compromised. Come on, man. I really don't understand it. Like I said, somebody isn't properly evaluating the cost-benefit ratio of trying to make shit really easy to discern. And like I said, it's such a academic level infosec protocol. I mean, to encrypt shit. I mean, come on now. Are you trying to put your people's information in danger? Are you trying to lose business due to a possible hack that'll cause your stock price to tank and all of your customers to bail because obviously you can't track their information or keep their information secure? Like I said, somebody is not doing their homework. Anyway, let's get into this other one here. And, when we're talking about regulations on cryptocurrency, it always makes me laugh because 9 times out of 10 they're talking about cryptocurrencies in certain contexts, meaning you can evaluate from what they're saying what cryptocurrencies and what cryptocurrency services and service providers they intend to impact with their regulation. And a lot of it pertains to services that would be utilizing Bitcoin, so like exchanges and whatnot. But they change drastically when we're talking about another coin, another cryptocurrency, when we're not talking about Bitcoin specifically. Like I've brought this up quite a bit. There's with Lightning Network, the only way that it really works in a way that like benefits everybody that it's supposed to, where you're getting your transactions done for less than a penny, and somebody is still able to provide a service profitably with only 1 megabyte worth of space. So they've got to make huge transactions worth millions and millions of dollars to be able to accumulate enough transaction fees at sub 1 penny to make it worth it, because they're going to be paying hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in transaction fees just to get their transactions included on the Bitcoin blockchain. So when we talk about legislation, their whole mentality with regard to Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies is couched in the idea of service providers existing and handling the transactions of tens of thousands, if not millions of people. Okay, and so this individual or these individuals would be responsible for billions of dollars worth of transactions, and so yes, they got to be regulated. They got to be licensed to do that. They got to meet some fitness requirements. However, if you were talking about, say, Doge or maybe Verge, these are smaller coins with a lot faster transaction time on them, or block time on them. So with Doge, I think it's 30 seconds. I know it is for Verge, that it's 30 seconds to each block reward. And so when we're talking about it when we're talking about transferring money via Verge as opposed to Bitcoin, the necessity to have some third-party intermediary facilitating your transactions goes way down, because you're only having to wait 30 seconds for a confirmation. And so all of a sudden we're not talking about the same thing when we're talking about like money transmitters and custodians, because that isn't necessary. It's not necessary to have a intermediary, a trusted third party between you and the person you're trying to do business with to keep track of the state of your transaction in the interim. So you can turn off your computer or just be away from the internet. So anyway, I got this article here on decrypt.co. Dash reaches 10,000 wallet milestone in Latin America. And this is by Adriana Hamacher. And it was authored July 23rd, 2019. So yesterday. Let's get into this thing. Dash, a cryptocurrency that's used for payments and e-commerce, today reached a landmark adoption goal. The company now claims some 10,000 active Android wallets in Latin America, its most popular market. In addition, 20,291 Dash transactions were recorded in the region, an 86% increase during the past 18 months, a period which has been difficult for the cryptocurrency industry as a whole. In a blog post detailing the firm's strategy, Ernesto Contreras, Dashcore Group's business development manager for Latin America, suggested that the cryptocurrency was increasingly being used by small-scale transactions. He said in the same 18-month period, the median transaction value dropped over 99% to $5.16 USD, quote, which points to a decrease from larger speculative trading movements into lower value, more repetitive transactions, reminiscent of transactions that are used for everyday purchases. Contreras attributed Dash's recent success to the various initiatives and partnerships that the company had put into place, as well as to the work of the teams it has on the ground. He singled out the company's partnerships with Traqui Supermarkets, the largest retail and store in Venezuela, and crypto mobile phones. The phones, which cost less than $100, launched at the end of the year and are a joint venture between Miami-based Crypto Mobile Corporation and Dash. They feature built-in crypto apps that especially target users in emerging markets. Contreras outlined Dash's future plans, which include a Dash text option for easier onboarding of first-time users and an improved user experience for crypto mobile. Contreras said that the company plans to continue emphasizing fast, easy, and inexpensive remittance solutions, onboarding large and medium-sized impactful retailers, as well as exchanges and platforms that can be used by Venezuelans who have fled the country and want to send money home. Dash has made significant progress since it launched 5 years ago. In South America, the crypto has all but usurped Bitcoin and is now accepted by 2,200 merchants in Venezuela at the point of sale. And worldwide, Dash is now accepted at more than 4,000 merchants and available at 700 ATMs, 90 different exchanges, the company said. Dash is also welcoming new adoptees from emerging industries. In a recent interview on the Crypto Show, Dash CEO Ryan Taylor declared that its use by industries such as the cannabis sector would further drive Dash's mass adoption. Yeah, it would. It would. Actually, I think the use of altcoins is going to continue to rise. You know, that Bitcoin more or less failing to live up to its promise of being peer-to-peer digital cash, global peer-to-peer digital cash, has kind of opened that market up to altcoins, which are more than happy to try and meet that challenge. And you know, people talk about Bitcoin's market dominance. Well, I would argue that articles like the one we just read are going to be continuing on the rise, and that Bitcoin in itself will not be enough to sustain the increase in demand. And as a matter of fact, we're kind of seeing some of the drawbacks of Bitcoin's supply issues, and also a reflection, I believe, of future price action within, let's say, more developed markets. This is on ccn.com. Bitcoin price hits insane 1,000% premium in hyperinflated Zimbabwe. And this is by Mark Emmem, approximately 1 week ago. Zimbabwe's worsening economic conditions. Oh, so yes, penis. Zimbabwe's worsening economic conditions have seen the citizens of the South African Republic turn to Bitcoin, leading to them paying a premium price on over-the-country crypto trading platforms, local Bitcoins. Currently, there are sellers on the OTC crypto trading platform asking for $104,000 per Bitcoin, with the Bitcoin price hovering below $10,000. That means they are charging a premium of nearly 1,000%. The Zim dollar is back, and fears of hyperinflation. The Bitcoin price premium is coming weeks after the Zimbabwean government reinstated the Zim dollar. At the same time, the government also banned the use of foreign currencies in the settlement of domestic transactions. Earlier this month, after another huge Bitcoin price premium in Zimbabwe had been observed, eToro Markets analyst Matty Greenspan argued that the high price was due to the locals trying to get rid of their US dollar holdings after the government reintroduced the Zim dollar. At the same time, The Bitcoin price premium was observed among sellers who were being paid in the country's mobile phone payments app, EcoCash. Let's see here, and there's a tweet here by Maddie Greenspan. Some crypto sites are reporting a 600% Bitcoin premium in Zimbabwe. This massive markup is actually just a reflection of the black market rate for US dollar held in EcoCash, which have just been rendered virtually worthless by the government. Full explanation coming in today's daily. However, this time around, premiums are also being observed among sellers seeking to be paid in global payment platforms such as PayPal and Western Union. Are Zimbabweans at the mercy of OTC Bitcoin markets? The high Bitcoin price premium can be attributed not only to the high demand occasioned by the country's dire economic conditions, but also the fact that Zimbabwe currently lacks cryptocurrency exchanges. Last year in the first quarter, the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe prohibited banks and other financial institutions from offering their services to cryptocurrency exchanges and traders. This ban has seen Zimbabweans trading Bitcoin on OTC markets, having to bypass local banks and turning to foreign payment service providers. Some of the cryptocurrency exchanges that operated in Zimbabwe before the ban have since then turned their focus on other markets. Golix, for example, took the ban as an opportunity to launch operations in other African countries such as South Africa, Nigeria, Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, Cameroon, and Rwanda. Venezuela might soon be in good company. The 1,000% premium on Bitcoin price coincides with the official data in Zimbabwe, indicating that the annual inflation rate in the country reached 175% last month. This made Zimbabwe's inflation rate the globe's second highest after Venezuela. Per the Zimbabwe National Statistical Agency, this was nearly double the inflation rate recorded the prior month. Quote, the year-on-year inflation rate for the month of June 2019, as measured by all items, consumer price index stood at 175.66%, while that of May 2019 was 97.85%. The triple-digit inflation rate was recorded just weeks after the South African country reintroduced the Zimbabwean dollar, which had been dropped in 2009. Interestingly, this was the year that Bitcoin was launched. Fears are now growing that the reinstatement of the Zim dollar will lead to hyperinflation. Yeah, that's a pretty good chance. And again, the one thing I caught the last time that we had a really big bump in the price of Bitcoin was that the price of Bitcoin in Zimbabwe was trending, I want to say it was like $8,000 more than the regular market. Like the regular market was like, I think it was like $3,000 or $4,000 at the time. And in Zimbabwe, they were getting anywhere from $8,000 to $11,000 per Bitcoin. And so I think that we're going to see that translate elsewhere, that demand for Bitcoin in their markets is such that that it'll continue to drive up the rest of the market, because more people are going to want into it. Fuck, potentially buying it for $10,000 outside of Zimbabwe and then selling it within Zimbabwe for $100,000. That's worth the risk. That is worth the risk, I would say. Man. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw back down into some music. And as far as where to go, I think a little bit of Death Clock is appropriate. Mermaider, here on Coin Metal. And that was Cold Chamber with Loco. And so, where are we going to go from there? Come on now. Where can we go from there? Well, I got this one here on Cointelegraph.com by Max Body. So, yes, penis. And let's see, this is authored. This is 4 hours ago. And so here we go. U.S. Treasury Secretary Mnuchin voices new pessimism about Bitcoin's future. United States Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin voiced bearish views on Bitcoin today, saying that he will probably not be talking about the number one cryptocurrency in as soon as 5 years. In an interview with Squawkbox CNBC on July 24th, Mnuchin said, quote, "I won't be talking about Bitcoin in 10 years. I can assure you that I would bet even 5 or 6 years I'm no longer talking about Bitcoin as Treasury Secretary. I'll have other priorities. I can assure you I will personally not be loaded up on Bitcoin." Mnuchin's latest remarks follow a recent statement about how cryptocurrencies primarily exist as a vehicle for crime and speculative investment, saying, oh, wait a minute, looks like we're kind of froze here on my program. Come on. Catch up. Let's go. Alright, so we're going to have to close out and reset, because, we have to do that occasionally. It gives me a bunch of shit sometimes. But eventually I'm sure we'll manage to get this thing hammered out 100%, but we're just going to tolerate it as long as we have to, Anyway, let's get on with this shit. Mnuchin's latest remarks follow a recent statement about how cryptocurrencies primarily exist as a vehicle for criminal activity. We know how true or false that may be, actually. I think to a large extent, cryptocurrencies have been dominated by illicit activities and speculation. However, CEO and Digital Currency Group founder Barry Silbert celebrated the Treasury Secretary's remarks, saying that they were, quote, complete and total validation of Bitcoin. Money laundering. Mnuchin also recently claimed that fiat money is not laundered to the extent that Bitcoin is. In a separate Squawk Box interview, Mnuchin said that the U.S. has the strongest anti-money laundering system in the world. Bitcoin, on the other hand, he believes is vulnerable to money laundering. Yeah, whatever. As previously reported by Cointelegraph, economist and anti-cryptocurrency pundit Nouriel Roubini recently wrote an essay with high criticism of the crypto exchange BitMEX, implying that the exchange knowingly launders money for terrorists and criminals. Quote, BitMEX insiders revealed to me that this exchange is also used daily for money laundering on a massive scale by terrorists and other criminals from Russia, Iran, and elsewhere. The exchange does nothing to stop this, as it profits from these transactions. Yeah, dude, you know what? That's a bunch of bullshit. I'm just going to say it. Everybody uses cryptocurrencies. Not just poor people. Rich people use it too. This is one of the reasons why we haven't seen much traction with regard to how we're going to tax Bitcoin and how we're going to tax cryptocurrencies. I mean, there are some making some statements, but as far as like what they're actually able to enforce and what enforcement actions they are conducting, they're 9 times out of 10 they're busting them on something fucking else. They get they catch them while they're buying meth or some shit like that. And it just happens to associate with the phone number with the fucking exchange account, and then they happen to notice that this person does exchange transactions for millions and millions of dollars, and they're like, oh, hey, what's this? Oh, we're going to charge you as a money transmitter now because you're facilitating transactions for thousands of customers where they're buying Bitcoin off of you or other cryptocurrencies. And they're not paying any kind of tax on it, of course. But they don't go after the people that are buying Bitcoin. They go after the person facilitating the transactions, and that's actually pretty much where we're going next. But I wanted to get into the comments here. And the first one is by Bitcoins and Gravy. Bitcoins and Gravy is old. I mean, like when I first started watching other individuals doing cryptocurrency media, Bitcoins and Gravy was one of the oldest. And so here we go. I went to school with Steven Mnuchin. He was a sad kid then, and he's a sad clown now. Even back then, he was afraid of his own shadow, and his kid sister was always telling him what to do. I used to feel sorry for the guy. Now I really feel sorry for him because he hasn't changed. He is still being told what to do, what to say, and probably what to think by men who are both his puppeteers as well as his handlers. Free yourself, Stephen, and for God's sake, stop fooling yourself, brother. JB. Technical says, if we find out later that Mnuchin was secretly buying Bitcoin just like Jamie Dimon, I will troll Mnuchin until he resigns. Good on you. And Ivan Franciscovich says, yep, he's accumulating. Dude, I swear, it is just like the fucking, the legislators and whatnot that come out against pedos, and then all of a sudden we find them, screwing some 12-year-old or something, or a video of them screwing some 12-year-old or whatever. But it's always the worst, it's always some, televangelist comes out about, really hard on lesbians or homosexuals, and then, come to find out he's getting serviced by some gay prostitute. And it's like, dude, really? I mean, Peter Schiff, I've been saying for the longest time that he is the biggest cryptocurrency shill on planet Earth. I shit you not. Every single one of his shows he talks about Bitcoin, and when he talks about the price, he doesn't talk about you or they or them. He talks about we, us. What does that fucking tell you? It tells me he's got a fat ass stack of fucking Bitcoin. He's probably got some Ethereum, maybe even some Ethereum Classic. I don't know. Possibly even fucking Dogecoin. The motherfucker is a commodities investor. He invests in shit that makes money with the intention of making money on it. All of these guys, they do the same fucking thing. Oh, Bitcoin sucks. I hate Bitcoin. Oh, by the way, I've got a Bitcoin wallet that's got 5 or 10 in it. Maybe 20. I haven't checked recently. I just got my friend automatically buying the shit for me. I mean, come on now. But it's one of those insurance policy kind of things for cryptocurrencies, that because these people, they look at Bitcoin, they understand exactly what it is, regardless of their station, because, they understand finance, they understand economics, they understand monetary theory to some extent. They look at it and they say, yeah, maybe I ought to buy some of this. It looks like it might make some money, Maybe I'll get into some of that Bitcoin Cash too. That looks like it might have a good return on investment. I mean, come on. These people are not stupid. Okay, they are not stupid. I would go so far as to say Maxine Waters is not stupid. Okay. She dresses a lot nicer now than when I first started seeing her on C-SPAN, which tells me she's learned a thing or two in her time in D.C. And she's on a finance committee, so she's probably learned a lot about money during that time. And so when she looks at Bitcoin, she says, I might want to include some of this in my portfolio, just a little bit. Not a whole lot. Just, put my toe in the water. Maybe 1. Possibly 2. Okay, 5. But like I said, it's kind of an insurance policy. Because it is a solid investment. The network's been live for fucking 10 years now. And despite whatever misdirection it may temporarily be facing, I believe in the longer term, we are going to see Bitcoin make all of the neat changes that are really necessary in order for it to facilitate and fulfill on the promise that was laid out in the white paper. I believe that is still in Bitcoin's future, that they will expand the block size limit. They'll stop trying to force everybody into third-party payment service providers, because they'll understand that the fucking network, the network, if it's not able to do what we need it to do, we will use other cryptocurrencies on other networks that can facilitate transactions and settle transactions as fast as we need them to. We're not trapped. With not little box you're going to put us in and keep us just in Bitcoin. It's not going to happen. Anyway, with regard to exchange, got this thing. It's from the United States Attorney's Office, District of New Jersey. The Department of Justice, U.S. Attorney's Office, District of New Jersey. And this is on justice.gov. Monmouth County man charged with operating an unlicensed Bitcoin exchange. I just want to take just one moment here. Unless they're getting him on shit like identity theft or something like that, in addition to this, I really don't give a fuck. As long as he is fulfilling on his obligation that, somebody gives him $5 for, at that moment, $5 worth of Bitcoin, I don't give a fuck. As long as he's not defrauding anybody, he's not stealing from anybody, I don't care. I don't want to know about it. I want people to just do their shit and leave me the fuck out of it. However, some people in this country still think that it's their job to clamp down on people for trying to do exactly that. So this is on July 24th, 2019. Monmouth County charged with operating an unlicensed Bitcoin exchange. Oh, and just one more thing. What I really wanted to mention there was that Quadriga GX or Quadriga or whatever the fuck they want to call it, those guys were claiming to be a licensed Bitcoin exchange for a long time. And this guy probably didn't even claim it. Anyway, continuing on. Newark, New Jersey, a Monmouth County, New Jersey man was indicted today by a federal grand jury for operating an unlicensed money transmitting business through which he charged customers fees to convert more than $2 million in cash into the digital currency Bitcoin. William Green, 46 of Wall Township, was charged by indictment with one count of operating as an unlicensed money transmitting business. He is scheduled to appear before a United States District Judge on a date to be scheduled. He was previously charged with the same offense by criminal complaint on February 28th of 2019. According to the documents filed in this case and the statements made in court, Green maintained a business that operated a website called Destination Bitcoin. Through the Destination Bitcoin website, Green received money from members of the public, the quote customers, deposited such money into bank accounts maintained by Green, and then converted such money into Bitcoin in accordance with the customer's instructions. Green charged the customers a fee for this service. Federal law provides that any person who owns or controls a money transmitting business shall register the business, whether or not the business is licensed as a money transmitting business in any state, with the Secretary of the Treasury. However, Green did not register either in his own name or in the name of his business with the Secretary of the United States Treasury as a money transmitting business. The charge of operating as an unlicensed money transmitting business carries a maximum penalty of 5 years imprisonment and a $250,000 fine. U.S. Attorney Carpenito credited special agents of IRS criminal investigation under the direction of Special Agent in Charge John R. Tafur, as well as special agents of the U.S. Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, ICE, Homeland Security Investigations under the direction of Special Agent in Charge Brian Michael with the investigation leading to today's indictment. The government is represented by Assistant U.S. Attorney Anthony Torntor of the U.S. Attorney's Office Cybercrimes Unit in Newark. The charge and allegations in the indictment are merely accusations, and the defendant is considered innocent unless and until proven guilty. Alright. So what this tells me is that it isn't really cut and dry as to whether or not what he was doing was operating as a money transmitting business. And this is really something to keep in mind. You know, if they it would all depend on his custody, the way that he custodies people, custodied customers' money. You know, maybe he had the Bitcoin, right? And he sold the Bitcoin to people at an exchange rate that they agreed upon at that time. Maybe they put some sort of rider, you know, that notify me when Bitcoin hits 95.8724. I want to buy 2 of them at that price. As long as he's not holding on to the $18,000 and change or $19,000 for the customer until the exchange takes place, I think he's in the clear. You know, all of this money transmitter bullshit, you know, basically it's give us our fucking cut. That's all it is. If you don't give us our fucking cut and give us an opportunity to tell you no, that you can't fucking do it, we're either going to take some of your life and some of your money, or, you know, just prohibit you from doing it ever again. I don't know. I think it's silly, you know, really. I think in the longer term, we are going to acquit every single motherfucker that was ever put in the pokey just on the basis of them, quote unquote, money transmitting or converting currencies from one to another. I think the necessity for doing so will become so ubiquitous, you know, transferring from one cryptocurrency to another, or even a fiat currency to a cryptocurrency or back, that the whole idea of trying to prosecute people for doing that is going to seem as silly as it absolutely is. Anyway, I got this next article here. It's on bitcoinmagazine.com, and this is by Colin Harper. So yes, penis. It was authored July 24th, 2019. U.S. Senate to hold hearing on crypto blockchain regulation next week. After getting its feet wet last week in hearings with Facebook's forthcoming digital currency Libra, the U.S. Congress is taking a deep dive into the Bitcoin industry. The U.S. Senate's Banking, Housing, and Urban Affairs Committee will host a hearing entitled, quote, Examining Regulatory Frameworks for Digital Currencies and Blockchain on July 30th, 2019 at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. A watershed moment for the cryptocurrency space. This is the first time a congressional committee has devoted a hearing solely to the topic of cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology. Witnesses to appear will include Jeremy Allaire, co-founder and CEO of Poloniex's parent company, Circle, Goldman Sachs, who will also be testifying on behalf of the Blockchain Association. Rebecca Nielsen, a specialist in international trade and finance for the Congressional Research Service, and Mirza Baradaran, a professor at the University of California, Irvine School of Law. Curiously, the only witness with clear expertise in the cryptocurrency industry is Allaire, whose company was the first ever to receive a coveted New York Bit license in 2015. Nielsen's focus on international economic issues, according to her LinkedIn runs the gamut of the internet, from the International Monetary Fund reforms to the European debt crisis. Bretren's work closely examines the politics and sociology of race as it relates to money. In other words, she knows relatively little. Ongoing discussions. During last week's Libra hearing in the U.S. House of Representatives, CoinShares Managing Director of U.S. Operations, Meltem Demirors, acted as the Bitcoin industry's de facto mouthpiece before legislators. Her testimony served as a salient reminder to Congress that Bitcoin and Libra are as similar and compatible as oil and water. Quote, Bitcoin is a technology, a network, and a cryptocurrency. The technology is not regulated, much like the internet. It could be considered a public good. Libra is not like Bitcoin, Demirors said. Goddamn right. Quote, it is inevitable that the Bitcoin ecosystem will continue to move forward, she continued during the hearing's expert panel. The question is where? Some congressional members, like Representative Patrick McHenry, agreed with Demirors to the point of bullishness. In the hearing, he likened Bitcoin to, quote, an unstoppable force, asking his peers, what are American lawmakers going to do to meet the challenges and the opportunities of this new innovation? Fuck off. Just fuck off and ignore it. That's what you do. Completely fucking ignore it. Quit trying to fucking regulate it. You're just going to scare people away. Continuing. For a legislative body that has been noticeably taciturn on the subject of cryptocurrencies, such comments are encouraging, and next week's hearing will give the industry a better idea of how favorably or unfavorably U.S. lawmakers will act towards Bitcoin and its cohorts in the near future. I don't think it's going to matter what the fuck they say. You know, if they happen to come to some sort of understanding that allows them to draw up some sort of regulatory framework and whatnot, all they will ever do is get the people who are willing to comply to comply. But the fact of the matter is that the cost of compliance is so fucking onerous and so unnecessary and irrelevant to the function of your fucking cryptocurrency projects that people are going to, by and large, ignore it. And so basically you're going to end up like we have with this guy in Monmouth, where he was conducting legitimate commerce. He's probably even paying taxes on his fucking income from the processes that he was doing, the conversions that he was doing. You know, if say he made like $200,000-$300,000 out of the $2 million he converted, and that would be even pretty high. I mean, there are other service providers that could do it for a lot less. So all told, he probably made, $50,000-$60,000. It probably even transacted way more than they know about. But anyway, he didn't make so much money that, it was like some big thing, that he's supplying an economy to the nation of Rwanda or some shit like that. What the thing that bugs me about all of this is that they want to prosecute people for the free flow of money. Not so much that they're doing business with specific individuals or that the commerce involved is money laundering or whatever, but that they're doing business with everybody equally, that they're not being exclusive, that they're not barring the entry from certain individuals or certain groups or certain religions or certain nationalities. But the thing is that I don't need to know who you are in order to get the transaction to go through. It doesn't have any impact on whether or not the transaction settles. Either the transaction is valid and it settles, or it's invalid and it doesn't settle. Or the network sucks and it gets bounced or some shit like that. But the point being is, if it's a good transaction, chances are it's going to be put into a block, it's going to be included in a block, and the money's going to get to me. If I don't need to know your email, I don't need to know your phone number, I don't need to know your physical address, I don't need to know your name or your phone number. If I don't need to know any of that stuff, I'm not going to gather it. And if I don't gather it, then you don't know about it. And if you don't know about it, then you can't do anything about it. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw back down into some music. And I've been dying to play some fucking Anthrax. But which one? Which song? Well, I'd imagine that during these talks that they're going to have next week, that they're going to be viewing cryptocurrencies much as they truly are, like the Giant. And so here we go, Anthrax, the Giant, here on Coin Metal. And that was Slayer with Seasons in the Abyss. And so, I got a couple more articles here I want to get into before the end of this show. And the first one here is from Tribetica.com. Oh, wait. I had to find out where else they're getting this from, because Tribetica always does this to me. Where they'll give me an article from somewhere else, and I'll say, like, read more. Would you like to read more? Yeah, here it is. Fucking shits. Oh, wait a minute. This one's on News BTC, so it might actually be from yet another source. Like AAA or fucking aggregation or some shit. Anyway, it looks like this one might actually be the legitimate first source of it, because it actually gives me an attribution, so we're going to go with it. This is on newsbtc.com. Analyst, backed could be a huge catalyst for Bitcoin, is a price surge inbound. And this is by Cole Peterson, and it was authored 2 days ago. So yes, penis. Despite facing multiple long delays, the highly anticipated backed Bitcoin futures platform has finally begun testing, and many analysts are now noting that the release of this platform could greatly enhance Bitcoin and the overall crypto markets. I would say it's timing. Importantly, one analyst group is now noting that the official launch of this platform could be a huge catalyst for Bitcoin and the aggregated crypto markets, which could ultimately help provide some stability to the highly volatile markets. Bakkt begins official testing of Bitcoin futures platform after 6 months of delays. Although Bakkt has been delayed on several occasions for multiple years now, it does appear that the platform is rapidly coming to fruition, which could be a very positive thing for the markets. The key to the Bakkt platform that makes it more advantageous to the markets than other futures platforms is that all trades are physically settled with Bitcoin, which means that all profitable trades are paid out with actual Bitcoin rather than a sum of cash that is equivalent to the value of Bitcoin. Quote, Bakkt begins testing on Monday. The hype is backed with substance, though. Unlike other future exchanges, this is settled in Bitcoin. Hard, actual Bitcoin is paid out, not fiat equivalent to the price of Bitcoin. The result is better price discovery and liquidity for Bitcoin, Rhythm Trader, a popular crypto analyst, explained in a recent tweet. Importantly, while keeping this key factor in mind, it is clear that Bakkt, should it be met with great popularity, could provide a significant amount of benefits to the nascent markets. Sam Doctor, a strategist at Fundstrat Global Advisors, recently spoke about the platform in a recent tweet explaining that he believes that it could be a huge catalyst for the crypto markets in the near future. Quote, we think Bakkt could be a huge catalyst for institutional participation in the crypto market. Here are our takeaways from the Bakkt Institutional Summit yesterday at the NYSE, he said, while referencing a chart with key takeaways from the summit. Will Bakkt lead to positive BTC price action? Analysts do believe that Bakkt will ultimately alter Bitcoin's price action and could contribute to some of the volatility that is anticipated in the coming days, weeks, and even months. Cronus Trading, another popular cryptocurrency analyst on Twitter, spoke about this in a recent tweet, noting that he believes that Bakkt and the CME futures gap that exists around 8,500 can contribute to a volatile week ahead. Quote, BTC closes out the week with many mixed signals. Bear cross on EMA 12.26 daily, but bull bounce from EMA 12 on weekly and regained cloud support. CME gap and Bakkt tomorrow should make for a dynamic week of Bitcoin price action, he explained. As the week continues on and Bitcoin's price action continues to unfold, it is highly probable that the analysts will soon understand whether or not cryptocurrencies, bulls or bears, will take the wheel in the near term. You know what? I'll be honest with you. That Zimbabwe marker is, to me, it's a key indicator of future uptrend only because that demand exists. There's enough demand that somebody is paying a 1,000% premium on Bitcoin just to get Bitcoin within the market there in Zimbabwe. It's worth it to somebody to pay that kind of premium. And so what that says is that they'll pay a 900% premium or an 800% premium or a 700% premium, 600%. I mean, there's a lot of travel there. Okay, there's a lot of negotiation to be made. And as more Bitcoin comes into that market to try and address that demand, we are going to see a decrease in price in relative terms in Zimbabwe, but a vast increase across the rest of the market because there's only so much fucking Bitcoin out there to go around. So as more of it shifted to Zimbabwe, the price premium they're experiencing within their borders will be translated outside of their borders to traders' hot little hands. I mean, really, there's probably somebody in New York right now with setting up their fucking VPN account so they can hit those precious Zimbabwe markets and take part in some of that that arbitrage, that regulatory arbitrage there. And they're not waiting around for the NYDFS to approve it either. Because they're like, dude, I can throw down $100,000, make $1 million on fucking Bitcoin. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. The fucking incentive is high enough for me to do it. So yeah, I think that overall the bigger indicator is going to be markets that are in trouble. Okay, so Venezuela, Zimbabwe, Turkey. These are places that are experiencing extreme monetary issues right now. India. Okay, these are big indicators. And so I've been talking about it on this show like consistently for years now that all of these regulators in India and in Syria and Iran and elsewhere, they all go through the same battle. Okay, where they receive the draft legislation that, you know, some banker group fed to some proxy within their legislative body that they're working within, and they receive the information and they're looking at it and they're like, okay, oh, wait a minute now, hold on. This part right here makes it to where what my kid's doing to help finance my re-election campaign will be regulated, taxed, and fucked over. No, we're not. We're just going to erase that part out, you know. And then it goes back up the chain, and you know the implications are made to the higher ups by the response they're getting from down below, and they're like, well, fuck, you know, those guys don't want to get robbed, and you know, I don't want to get robbed, so no, I'm not going to listen to what this banker's telling me to do, and I'm gonna not rob myself. You know, I mean, there's been few places on this planet where the legacy system is such an entrenched interest that they were able to get ahead of cryptocurrencies within their state. and kind of finagle the thing around to where they were basically the barrier, the official barrier, that is, between New York and the rest of the crypto market at large. I don't think that's been all that effective. It's certainly not produced like some massive boom of innovation within the border of New York and the other places that have applied this kind of regulation. And that ought to be a real signal to the legislators within those jurisdictions that, hey, the market has other places to go and flourish, and it will be more than happy to do so. It does not give a fuck about your coke. It does not give a fuck about your hookers. It does not give a fuck about your US dollars. It's going to find them elsewhere, because there's plenty of them out there. And they're in enough hands that are more than happy to continue this game going because it benefits them. It provides them with incentive to continue to participate. And I doubt any kind of regulatory framework is really going to change that because of the capabilities of cryptocurrencies. That they are not limited to jurisdictions, they're not even limited to continents. So anyway, continuing on, I got this next article here. It's on the bitcoinnews.com. This may be aggregated from somewhere else. Speaking to CMB. Yeah, motherfuckers. Let me see if it'll actually bring it through to the right article here. Alright. Here we go. And this is on CNBC. And this is by Ryan Brown. It was published 1:21 a.m. Eastern Time, Tuesday, 23rd July 2019. So yes, penis. Trump talking about crypto can only be a good thing, CEO of top exchange Binance says. President Donald Trump might not be a fan of cryptocurrencies, but Binance CEO Jinping Zhao doesn't seem worried. Known in the crypto community as CZ, the digital currency exchange's chief said Trump's comments criticizing Bitcoin and Facebook's Libra currency can only be good for the industry. Quote, Trump so far has not done anything positive or negative. He's just said he's not a fan, Zhao told CNBC in an interview last week. The fact that he tweeted about it and the President of the United States is talking about cryptocurrency, it's a good thing. Trump said in a series of tweets earlier this month that he was not a fan of cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, claiming that they're, quote, not money. He also directed his ire at Facebook's plan to create a cryptocurrency, saying the firm should be subject to federal banking regulations. Subsequently, Facebook's blockchain chief David Marcus was grilled on Capitol Hill over Libra, while Bitcoin's price has been subdued over the last week amid heightened regulatory concerns. But CZ said that even if the U.S. made it illegal to own cryptocurrency, which he describes as, quote, the worst-case scenario, it wouldn't shatter the industry. Quote, cryptocurrency will survive regardless of any one country, he said. Quote, most countries that try to ban Bitcoin cause their citizens to want cryptocurrency more. View interactive content. We're not going to do that. Authorities have frequently sounded the alarm over cryptocurrencies, worried about their potential use in illicit activities like fraud and money laundering. Massive cyber attacks have also shaken the industry, and Binance hasn't been immune to that trend. In May, the trading venue notified its users that it was hit with a major breach that saw hackers run off with around 7,000 bitcoins, which today equates to around $70 million. The firm said it would cover the incident, quote, in full, and no user funds would be affected. While CZ described the incident as, quote, unfortunate, he added that it was, quote, totally manageable given the size of Binance's revenues. The company made around $400 million in profits in 2018, and its boss said that it expects to make even more this year. If anything, he said, the heist and Binance's response to it shows the industry brings, quote, a new level of transparency when it comes to finance. Binance is one of the biggest cryptocurrency exchanges in the world by trading volume. Quote, banks get hacked, but they're not transparent with the numbers. You see billions of dollars in fines for banks, he said, whereas with cryptocurrency there's more transparency, which is actually good for users because now they know what's going on. God damn right. And that is a level of transparency differential. You know, they simply cannot, by design, provide in legacy markets. They just can't do it. They can't be that honest with us. And so we had to go to it. This is a little bit of fear here. And this is on ccn.com. And this might actually be... let's see. I'm checking to verify that this is actually a single source and not aggregated from somebody else's article. And so we're just going to go with it here. Bitcoin will annihilate the dollar, and Alex Jones is terrified. This is by Greg Thompson, approximately a day ago, so yes, penis. Alex Jones was in full agreement with the Bitcoin crowd for about 5 seconds this week when he proclaimed the slow death of fiat currencies. However, in the next breath, he warned that the replacement for the inflated fiat corpse would be something even more terrifying, quote, a blockchain or Bitcoin-style system run by the globalists. Bitcoin, the cash killer. During July 22nd's episode of his flagship show, InfoWars, Alex Jones portended the slow death of global currencies due to inflation, stating, quote, the globalists have already inflated world currencies worse than the Weimar Republic, worse than Zimbabwe ever thought about, and so it's a race by different currencies to see which one can stay most solvent, because all the others are all going to go down. During the worst times in Germany and Zimbabwe, wheelbarrows were needed to carry cash around, carry enough cash around to buy a loaf of bread. Those times aren't upon us yet, but did you know that your money is worth just 1/3 of what it was as recently as 1980? In the US, inflation continues, yet the everyday use of cash is dying out. Likewise, in Britain, the use of notes and cash is set to fall 21% by 2026. Already, remote areas of the country are being affected as cash circulation drops below usable levels. Jones went on to declare the death of the dollar and suggested Bitcoin or a Bitcoin-style system is being positioned to replace it. Quote, out of whoever survives, it will form the basis for the new global blockchain Bitcoin-style system, so we're coming to the end of the age. There's no fixing the dollar at this point. There's no going back. The new boss, just like the old boss. The InfoWars frontman has straddled both sides of the line when it comes to Bitcoin in recent years. He once accepted Bitcoin donations on his InfoWars website, but that option has since been removed. More recently, Alex Jones went after Bitcoin via Jack Dorsey, saying that the Twitter CEO's appraisal of Bitcoin on the JRE podcast was tantamount to a pump and dump. Jones also made the bold claim that George Soros once offered him $5 million to advertise and to pump Bitcoin. That's because he owns it, silly. Even among Bitcoin believers, the question remains, is Bitcoin really the freedom currency it's made out to be, or simply the final digital pawn in the globalist endgame? As with everything Jones says, there's room for interpretation, but if Bitcoin/blockchain is being set up as the next globally controlled system, then the new boss is no better than the old boss. In fact, it may it may be magnitudes worse. At least with fiat, you can hide the money under your bed and trade it in local circuits for banned/illegal goods and services. Right now, the proliferation of darknet markets is evident that Bitcoin can play the latter role. Likewise, the ongoing Craig Wright saga is proof that millions can be kept private despite the best efforts of the legal system, the corporate face of cryptocurrency. But if Bitcoin really is the future and the future is ruled by the same people who rule the present, then that won't be the case for long. The only way for Bitcoin to succeed with its value intact is to destroy the current system, not become part of it. Otherwise, blockchain will be remembered as the harbinger of economic tyranny rather than its liberator. As Alex Jones warns, we're at the end of an age. Given the rapid decline in use of cash for everyday purposes, there seems to be little doubt that the future of money is digital. But who's going to be in charge of those digits? Them or us? Ultimately, it's going to be you, because you're going to be the one who decides whether or not you're working for Dash, or Doge, or Litecoin, or Verge, or Bitcoin, or US dollars, or Japanese yen. That option is now 100% open to you because all of these are at least represented on some ledger or another in terms of digital units. So it's going to be a question of which ones work the best for you, which ones retain the most of their value, which ones appreciate or depreciate as you need them to. Those ones which transact best for the type of commerce that you're participating in. Those are going to be the markers of what succeeds, not whether or not the Federal Reserve approves of it, or the U.S. Treasury likes it, or if Donald Trump likes it. None of that shit matters. What's going to matter is, does the transaction settle globally as fast as I need it to? Can I retain my monetary value by holding it in this currency? Will it appreciate if I hold it in that currency? That's all that matters anymore. And that's what's going to define which currency succeeds in the future. And no amount of bloviation or legal frameworks is going to change that outcome. It might change how fast it happens within a certain locality. It could be slower or faster as a result of some change in the regulatory structure, where say the IRS says, oh, okay, we're going to steal your Bitcoin from the exchanges now. We're going to tax you at the exchanges, or we're going to tax you here, we're going to tax you there. The fucking monetary value via that current or held in that currency will simply go away from that area. It'll eliminate that ability. That'll be the response of the market. And individuals like the one that was busted recently in Monmouth for being a unlicensed money transmitter, I would be willing to bet that case will probably be thrown out of court, especially if there are no criminal complaints associated with it. If this guy always paid out and always paid out well, he gave people the exact rates that he had proclaimed that he was going to give to them, as long as he was contractually compliant with his business partners, I would be willing to bet that the court would be willing to throw it out. Simply on the merit that basically the only thing that the SEC or any other, or the regulating agency, I guess it might have been the CFTC, I don't know. I don't remember. But whoever they are, that their requirement that this entity be licensed to conduct the business that he was conducting, that being the exclusive and sole complaint, I believe will not be enough to hold up in a court of law. Like I said, as long as everybody's been made whole, the judge might just ask, hey, did he pay accurate income taxes to the IRS on his profits in this business that he was conducting, these transfers that he was conducting? If so, fuck off. Get the fuck out of my court. I would be willing to bet that that's exactly where it'll end up. And it is with that I'd like to close out this episode. Thank you very much for listening. I certainly do appreciate the support. We will be back again on Friday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And so until then, I want y'all to trade safe. Do your homework. And watch out for your own bunghole, because nobody else is going to do it for you. And as far as our last dance is concerned, I'm going to go with a little Slipknot, because we have not played any of it. And here it is, Pulse of the Maggots, Last Dance, here on Coin Metal. Thank you again for listening, and y'all have an excellent evening. Good night.